Hello. I'm kind of worried because I'm doing a different thing this time. There's not going to be any code here, which is good because my code sucks most of the time. And I'm a JavaScript guy, so jQuery code is even worse when I write it. But I had a few things happening lately, and looking around and being only at conferences, I realized a lot of things that are going on in our market which confuse me. And I wanted to find out what the reasons are and give you an idea of how to make yourself more happy. And I hope you appreciate what's going on there. It's like, take a look at what we have here. The slides are available afterwards as well. We can be better and we can be happier in our lives just by thinking about a few things that are happening to us and we don't know the reasons why. So with this cryptic remark, I think I should get into it and get you less confused than you are before. We are part of a super, super small group who are very, very lucky. We get job offers that we actually laugh about. We get companies that have the proverbial free lunch that doesn't exist. And we complain if there's only 3 different meals to choose from. We get paid by people and that actually don't interfere with what we're doing because they don't know what we're doing. We're looked after. Governments tell people that they have to learn coding, which annoys me. They should teach them how to do making, not only coding. We teach algorithms and instead of creators, instead of inspiring them to build things like we were inspired in the past, governments say like it's all about the code because that's measurable and there's tick boxes at the end of that. The governments do all these like tech introduction things because it's the only market that blossoms, whereas all the other markets, there's layoffs. My brother's a fireman, he can't find a job. If he doesn't do his job, people burn. If I don't do my job, there's 5 pixels wrong. And still I get paid about 500 times than he does, and people look for me rather than him. And I've repeated that a lot in the past as well, like the reasons to be cheerful and prestige being a web developer conference, and I was always very agitated about it, it seems. But I think it's worth repeating, because many people keep forgetting this. There's nothing more exciting than being a web developer. Everybody always tells us like, oh, it's just this environment that's not fixed, and everybody could do it, and yeah, that's the cool thing. For 16 years, I've learned everything daily new because our environment changes with us. And how cool is that? Which other job can you be in for years and years and have to do something new every day and still can do the old stuff as well and make money with it, funnily enough? If I'm a printer and I know about a printing engine from the 1920s, I probably will not get a job nowadays. If I only know HTML, I can still get a job. It's incredibly exciting because we're a mixture of everything. We're not engineers. We're not computer science people. We're people that make interfaces with technologies for everybody out in the world, and nobody else does that. Because an iOS developer is not going to reach somebody in Southern Africa in the wilderness, but they can reach somebody in an internet cafe on an old Internet Explorer browser thing. So why are we these terrible, grumpy people? Why are the first 15 comments you get on anything on the internet always, this never worked before and it will never work again? Why are we so socially broken that we need a code of conduct for our events and teach people how to deal with the other sex? Why are we so broken that people of hiring agencies basically hate contacting us because the first answer is always like, oh, you're a contractor, or you want to give me a job and money, I don't want that. So the whole image of the Hollywood evil IT guy is still alive, and it fascinates me that it is, because we get paid well, we have working hours that other people dream of, we get computers that are fast and a seat that works in the office, we get coffee in the office that we don't have to bring in, and still we bitch about everything and complain about everything. And I was wondering why that is. It's not because we're evil people, I don't believe that. Why are people trolls? What makes somebody a troll? I don't understand how you can crap all over the thing that gives people worldwide a voice and allows them to communicate with each other when their government tries to shut them down, and we use it to make people look stupid to each other. That doesn't make sense to me. So there had to be a reason for that. So if you want to find the reason you go outside of your comfort zone, not really outside, I mean there's like air and sun and things, and I'm ginger and that's not good. So when I have downtime, like when I'm in the gym and stuff, I watch TED Talks. Partly because I want to become a better speaker, and partly because I want to find talks to inspire other people to become better speakers. And one of them I found was this one here at TEDx by Dan Ariely, What Makes Us Feel Good About Our Work. And it was incredibly insightful what he talked about. So the rest of my talk is basically stolen from him. Fair enough, it's Creative Commons. Not really. I'm taking what he had talked about and translated a bit for us. So he did a research where he asked people to do a task for him. I give you $1, will you do that task? The person would do that task. I give you 70 cents, will you do that task? I give you 60 cents, will you do that task? So they went lower and lower. And they wanted to measure that way, what makes us do a job? How long do we actually don't care about the payment any longer before we say, okay, I don't do the job anymore, it's not worth my time, it doesn't make any sense. So he kept people doing a repetitive task and had different scenarios, how they get evaluated afterwards. The first one was building Lego BIONICLES. So he asked people to build a Lego BIONICLE for $1, then he would put it on the table, and then he asked them to do another one, and so on and so forth. The problem there was that there is an emotional aspect in it, which actually washes out the result of that research. Because there's people who like building Lego, and there's soulless freaks who don't like Lego. So they had to find a measurement that takes that emotional aspect out of it. And that's partly with us as well. We do a lot of work for less money and less reward because we like doing it. I'm okay to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and write some JavaScript because I'm excited about it, which makes me a freak in the eyes of project managers, and some people start abusing that. Like when you say to 10 people, oh, this can't be done as a manager, and then they go directly to your engineer and say like, I heard this is not possible, but I heard you're a really good developer, you can do that, right? These kind of things happen, and it fascinates me that we fall for it. So, instead of Lego BIONICLES, the next thing that he did was counting letters. So he gave people a piece of paper and asked them to count letters that are double. And do that. Really kind of weird task, but there's no emotion to that, because not many people get excited about counting double letters. Semicolons, different story. We can discuss that for hours. There were 3 scenarios. The first one was, the person was asked to put their name on a paper and then do the task, and when finished, a person checks the paper, nods, and puts it on a stack of paper with the others. So basically you do it, the person, okay, and puts it there. The second scenario, do the task, and when finished, a person takes your paper and without looking at it, puts it on a stack of paper. So that's just like. The third one, do the task, and when finished, they shredded the piece of paper in front of people without even looking at it. So it's not quite uncommon to know what might be the outcome of that. Of course, the shredded scenario is the one where people said after 90 cents, okay, that's not worth my time any longer. So the findings were interesting. The drop-off rate when people considered not worthy of their time was the quickest in the shredding scenario, but not much less in the not looked at scenario. And strangely enough, people did not cheat. As an engineer, if I see the guy not looking at the results and still giving me money, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I'm just standing there, 15, whatever. But people realized it's not worth their time. If it had been like $100, maybe different. But I found it very interesting that people didn't even think it worthwhile to cheat in this. It's just, if the guy doesn't recognize it, why do I do it? So the finding of this one, in my rule of happiness, number 1, is that recognition counts more than enumeration. Getting the guy to nod and look at it and recognize that I did a good job was worth more than the money with it. And sadly enough, this doesn't happen much. We get paid, but nobody cares about the quality of our code because they can't fathom it. They don't understand what we're doing. So when we spend time on making the most beautiful JavaScript loop avoiding thing ever, and the final result looks like another one, people don't measure it the same way, and we feel cheated somehow. And we go on the web and we show our code to other people to get a bit of recognition from the outside. but the recognition should come in the company for happiness. So the second one was selling origami. There were two scenarios. Again, they asked people to make an origami, whatever. It was not an elephant, it was something else. I love that animation. And they gave people the full instructions how to do the origami, and then they asked them how much they would charge for it. If you were to sell that, how much should it cost? They also asked other people how much they would pay for the origami. So in the first scenario, they gave people the full instructions. In the second scenario, they gave them rudimentary instructions, so they had to find out a bit about how to fold that origami and how to do things with it. The findings? People who had the guiding instructions wanted to sell the origami figures for much more, whilst buyers wanted to pay less as they seemed lesser quality than the full instruction ones. So the ones folded with the full instructions looked perfectly, people wanted to pay more for them, but the people who had to find out how to fold them wanted more money because they had to put effort in. For them it was a special task, it was something special, it was something they made, not something they just followed instructions to do. So the second rule of happiness deriving from that is that having to work harder for something brings pride and a sense of ownership. If we don't have that sense of ownership, we never be proud of it. And that's something that's happening continuously right now. Because if you look around the web, what are our happiness blockers? Why aren't we happy? Why aren't we content? If I talk to my family, my dad being a coal miner, my mother being a housewife, for them was always, money is the best thing. If you have money, happiness will come and you can buy happiness if necessary. Which is, funny enough, not true. I know a lot of rich people. I'm working with CTOs and CEOs and startup people, and all of those, the richer you get, the more money you want to make. Because all of a sudden you got mates who are as rich as you are, and then you don't have the newest Porsche and you feel inadequate compared to them. So money is not the end all. It's a thing to make you feel safe. But I challenge all of you right now to get $2 million and go into the woods and not do anything else anymore. After 2 or 3 days, each of us would twitch and want a computer and start programming, because that makes us more happy than that. So give me all your money, because it doesn't make you happy. But the remuneration, just being paid for it, is not enough. We need other things to be happy. And I think our biggest problem is the lack of real recognition. People do not know what we do, which makes us great for us, because we can do whatever we want and we still get paid, and we can just surf around the web and do things in 10 seconds and charge for 2 weeks of time. But we work for somebody who doesn't care about what we do. All they want to know is how fast can you do it and how many people are involved, meaning how expensive is it to build it. And this goes back to the 1940s, when we started the Industrial Revolution, when cars weren't being made by groups of people building a car together anymore, but by a construction line where your job was to put the nuts on the wheels, the other guy's job was to put the windshield wipers on, the other guy's job was to paint the left side and the right side. So the era of industrialization made us much more efficient and churn out much more products by cutting down on the knowledge of people. We, however, live in a knowledge worker environment. We're paid for what's in our head, not that we can actually fix a nut every 20 seconds. And still, our business approaches, our management practices, our project management practices are from that time. What's the time? What's the budget? How many people can you put on it? And that is broken, because people don't realize if our code was delayed because we wanted to make it maintainable for the next people, or if it was delayed because we're stupid. And they don't care. All they want to have is a code in the right amount of time and the right amount of people with it, so they can charge the right amount of money for it. So we're seen as these worker bees that do magic in the background that only get screamed at when we don't do it in the right amount of time. But we don't get any recognition when we go the extra effort and make something beautiful, scalable, extendable, and understandable for the next guy that follows after me. I've always written code for the next guy, not for myself. I knew I'm going to get bored of my code. I knew I'm going to get pulled into a new project, so I made it understandable. I made it easy to maintain, which takes more time. But it's worthwhile because your colleague doesn't come after you with a hammer 2 weeks later because they looked at your code, or rewrites the thing from scratch like we continuously do. There's a lack of ownership. If you look around the web, about the websites that people really need to use. Train tickets, airplane tickets, visa application forms, government websites where I have to call somebody to get the waste picked up in front of my house. These are awful. These are embarrassing. These are the things we laugh at and we show as bad examples of web design. These are also things that people use. Whereas our responsive design, 3D, web audio rotating blog is what we use and nobody else does. So the real world recognition, when I go to mom and dad's in the cafe and I talk about the internet, they remember this shit and they measure us against that. And when I talk to web developers, web designers, luminaries of the web, visionaries of the web, and say like, how about we take a stab at making a ticket website? Nobody's going to care about that. We got a new NPM to build instead. Why don't we take this challenge on? We don't own the web of the end users out there. We own a little part of it where we make each other happy by impressing each other. Whereas the outside world is falling to pieces and people go to apps instead. Because apps are much easier. Of course, downloading 50 meg of data to find out what the weather is much easier than typing into Google, right? We don't own that. And sadly enough, I mean, I could poke fun at the Indian website here as well because even the SSL certificate was broken. And it asked me for my birth certificate and all kind of stuff. But the American one doesn't look much better. And then you look at the budgets of these things, and you were like, yeah, it's a kid with Dreamweaver, fair enough. But I think it was like $1.2 million for this website. Look at the government website, the health government website that just came out. Complete cluster fornication. And who comes in to rescue it? Accenture. None of the cool design agencies that we look up to that solve the problem of responsive design and interfaces even dare to touch that thing. And that drives me crazy. We need to own the web. We need to be out there and change the things people use, not the things that we use and get excited about. Because if we don't do that, people are going to go to apps. People are going to go to their TVs and be happy that they get a bit of software and not the internet that was meant for them. So we're stuck between Dunning-Kruger and imposter syndrome. It's like my code doesn't work and I don't know why, my code works and I don't know why. It's a very common thing. Dunning-Kruger syndrome means that you overestimate your own abilities when you're a not skilled person. And you have no empathy whatsoever with people who say otherwise. So it's the kind of people that put three jQuery plugins together to make an interface in 14 seconds and shout at me for knowing anything about the web when I talk about accessibility of it. I've got this. Look, I've done it in 5 minutes. You're an idiot talking about it for like 12 years and writing books about it. What's that about? And it's a defensive mechanism. We don't want to feel stupid. We know we do magic. We know we use other people's stuff that we don't understand, but we lash out towards others so we don't feel inadequate about it. The imposter syndrome is the other side of this. It means that you can't internalize things that you achieved. You might have done something amazing, but you never believe it yourself. And that can happen if you build things that you build something like a ticket site that looks gorgeous, and then you go out on the web and people clap at somebody on stage controlling a drone with JavaScript and Node.js. And you're like, oh, I wish I had time to do that as well, but I'm obviously not as cool as that person. So the imposter syndrome feels like, I feel like a fraud. When I use 12 frameworks and 6 out-of-the-box widgets and my project manager comes up to us, you're amazing. I haven't used anything I've done myself. I don't know what I did here. I just put these things together and I'm amazing. Of course we don't say, no, I'm not, because then they would hire somebody else. But we feel like a fraud continuously. And that's just not a good feeling to have. And it's actually much, much worse in countries where people don't listen to you. I spoke at JSFU in India, and I was asked to fly over again for Meta Refresh. And instead, I said, I'm going to spend a few afternoons to teach 3 guys in India to give my presentation. Because I want those guys to be on stage. I want those guys to become the heroes of the other local guys. Why should somebody from England fly to India to impress people and then go off again and not have time to answer their questions? And they're like, yeah, but I can't give out your code because I don't understand it. And I'm like, then show me how you use it, how your code would look like, and we did this instead. So feeling like a fraud is something we continuously have because people expect us to do magic rather than understanding that we're just deliverers as well. So what do we do to fight this? We actually keep ourselves busy. We don't really solve the problems that are out there. Instead, we get very excited about doing our DOM replacement libraries, CSS framework, packaging managers, build scripts, automation scripts, IDEs, minimalistic publish tools, MVC frameworks. Every week there's a new one, and that is obviously better than the one the week before. And if you started a project with the other one, you're an idiot. These things are great. There's a great excitement creating awesome.js or amazing.io. But what does that fix? What are all these things aimed at? All of these things are aimed at creating more in a lesser amount of time. Validating the wrong belief of our product managers that we are construction workers. That we are just people who deliver things. We hide our code away from ourselves, so we can't even measure anymore what the quality of the code is. And we do it to become more successful because we clap at each other about building these things rather than building the things that people use. And we solve the problem of our project manager, but not the problem of not being recognized by people. And this is something that I think we should be attacking. We really have to be out there and make people understand that we take 6 hours for a CSS layout because we make it work in every scenario, rather than the 2 scenarios that the product really demands. Because we don't, in a week's time, we don't want to redo the whole thing when the next scenario comes in. We also dream of tools. I've seen about 15 talks telling me that the web is broken and our tool chain is completely broken and it needs to be better and it needs to be amazing and it needs to be live reload and all these bits and bobs. Brad Victor's invention in principle was the big one that started that. It's still a great talk. He has super good ideas in there about his principle is that the creation and the usage should be the same thing, rather than like 2 steps in between. You should play a game to create it. You should be able to control the jumping and create the code from the jumping, rather than having to write the code all the time. But that's it. It was a principle talk. Principles of development, not all your tools suck and you have to replace them right now. That was not the title of the talk. It would have been less successful if it had that title, I think. But we always look like, where's the tooling, and we don't realize how we learn things. Because there's a value in having bad technology. There's a value in having a slow computer. You learn how to optimize. You learn how to appreciate fixing something. You don't have the perfect solution from the very beginning. You have to learn how to do it. So we have to stop thinking in black and white in terms of this. Technology is not the solution to our problems all the time. We already optimized our little world amazingly. We forgot to communicate it to the outside world why we did this. The outside world just sees now, hey, if you just use this build script, you can do it in half the time, great. So we can do twice the projects without thinking about them, right? Instead of like, oh, you made yourself more efficient so you have more time for QA, for debugging, for optimizing later on. That time is gone. We don't get that time any longer because we didn't communicate that out to people. So XKCD had a great thing about that, about automation, because we always like, we find something, we do 3 times, we build a script to do it for us, which is what computers are great at. So the theory was that you actually work on the original task, you write the code, the automation takes over, and you got free time. But in reality, you have ongoing development of the automation tool, because everybody else has an input what the automation tool should do as well. Like it can cook coffee in the meantime while packaging your CSS as well. And I love this, like automating comes from auto, meaning self, and mating, meaning screwing. So we get too excited about the automation tools and not really understand why they were necessary in the first place. The amount of people that start with Sass because CSS is not good enough and then create horrible CSS at the end because the Sass looks short but the CSS isn't, it's just painful to me. Like, you optimized your workflow but not the outcome. And that's just a terrible way of working. Another big thing is drying. Don't repeat yourself. An amazing pattern, absolutely 100% agree that in code, repeating yourself is a stupid, stupid thing. You don't do an if, you do a function with a backhaul to actually do that in one go. But we made this straw man. It's like every repetition is anathema to people. Like, why should I have to press Command S, Command Tab, Command R to see my changes in a browser? We need live reload. Here's 15 Unix scripts and 50 different things you have to configure your computer so you don't have to press these 3 keys any longer. Repetition is not a bad thing. Once you're an expert, you find tools to make your life easier. But when you start with the power tools, you never appreciate what's behind. And I think the best example is driving. When I first got into a car, when I was 14 and drove illegally, and then when I learned it later on, it felt overwhelming. What are all these levers? What is this thing in the middle? Why are there like 3 different pedals on the ground? Well, for Americans, it's still, why are there 3 pedals? It's called a clutch. But nowadays, you go in and you basically sit down and you don't even think about it anymore. I switched from car to van to tractor to truck to back to car, and I just sit in it within a second. My brain tells me this is how this works. And it became that way because of repetition. So when I typed in document get element by ID 15 times, the developer in me says like, that's ineffective. Why should I do that all the time? If I type it in now after doing it for 15 years, I don't think about it anymore. It comes out of the screen and I already think about the next piece of code. The repetition made me who I am today. I've got muscle memory of code in me. That's why it's so hard to switch from one editor to another, because you memorize all the keyboard shortcuts. And out of a sudden, this one is one more effective. Yeah, I spent like 2 weeks trying to find my keys. This didn't make me more effective. So allowing developers to do things over and over again builds the muscle memory, and then we can show them the power tools. And they will have a much more appreciation of what they're doing. Like with the origami thing. They had to find out something by themselves, that's why they actually like doing it afterwards. If we give them the perfect solution up front, they're going to get bored with it and say things like, oh, why don't we have the same tools as native development has? And this comes from gaming. In gaming, we're totally happy to repeat the same task 16 times. We get killed by this thing at one level, and next time we know this thing is around the corner, and we still play the whole level. But in our professional thing, that's a terrible thing to do. Like, oh my God, people should never make a mistake. No, we learn from mistakes. Mistakes hurt. Mistakes make you feel bad. So you don't do them again. So preventing people from having mistakes or making mistakes makes terrible developers, because they think there are no mistakes. And by God, there are always mistakes. Bugs happen, magically. Sometimes it's trolls, I think, or little pixies that come into your code overnight and put things in there. They just happen, they're part of life. Frustration is part of life, so our learning should be to deal with frustration, not to avoid it. This is The Cave, a game by the guys who did Day of the Tentacle and Zack McCracken and like all the other point-and-click games. I played them through over Christmas with my godson, and it's awesome. It's all these like little you've got 8 different characters and 9 different characters, and you can play the game through with 3 of them at a time. So there's like multiple ways to play that game, and every person I see playing it finds different things that I didn't learn about before, and all of a sudden this game becomes more interesting. And we have that with our technologies. The other day on CSS Tricks, there was a competition of like, make a blue box. And people found like 94 ways or something to put a blue box on the screen, like CSS and other people use SAS. I wrote it, of course, in Canvas and then in WebGL. And there's millions of solutions for the same task on the web. And that freaks out people that come from like Java or iOS, because they're like, hey, wait, this is not efficient. And you're like, no, let people play. People come up with the most weirdest solutions, and for a certain environment, this is the right solution. What we have to stop is saying that one solution is the one for all, and the others are all bad, and get more excited about having the opportunity to do things differently. I found people that are architects, like real architects of buildings, writing JavaScript code with a totally different mindset than mine, and I was blown away with the solutions that they came up with. You put this on a jQuery forum and people are like, oh, there's far too much code and this doesn't make any sense. But the way the code flew into each other, I was like, this is amazing. So there is never an end to solutions on the web. So don't pretend that there is one to rule them all, because that would limit us. And this is what we have to talk to project managers about. Like, no, there is no UI toolkit I can use for this to make a perfect mobile app on all platforms. This is not how it works. I can make you one that looks similar and works similar on all of them, but doesn't look pixel perfect. And that to me is the epiphany of gaming. Every single game I play starts with, this game is badly coded. There's lots of bugs, because I wrote games on different platforms, on Commodore, on Amiga, on Super NES, and then on the web. And every single game I play, I'm like, okay, the gravity of this one is terrible, and the collision detection is terrible. This game is awful. This programmer is an idiot. And then I realized, actually, it's just me that I suck at playing that game, because I see kids on the train next to me being much better at them, and I'm like, really? And then it starts kicking in, and I'm like, I can do this. I find a way that the right sequence of making that bird not drop, I can go over 20, I can over 30, I can go over 40. Not much, but I got over 40. And then I said, I got this. This is awesome. Then I show it to other people. And then I actually start sharing how awesome I am with other people as well, which I just did inadvertently, but fair enough. But the problem is, with all of our frameworks, with all of our libraries, with all of our outreach that this library solves that problem, we never let developers go past the number one. That's why new kids, 15-year-old web developers that come to me and say like, oh, app cache is broken, why should I bother? CSS is awful, that will never be a solution to anything. Because they read somebody clever finding one example where it was broken. And they never got the chance to play with it. They never got to realize that they just use CSS the wrong way. They just use HTML the wrong way. They just use JavaScript the wrong way. They never got this epiphany because nobody told them. People just told them, this is broken, so don't even touch it. And that way we lose out on a lot of new developers fixing problems of the past because they never look at these problems. They just want to have a library to do it for them. And then when the library gets too slow and too convoluted, as all libraries do, then we replace it with the next library that becomes slow and convoluted. So what do we do to get fat, rosy, and happy? What is the thing that would make us happy, that doesn't make us the grumpy people that we are? There's a few things. I'm not giving you a final solution here, but I've discovered things in the past that made me happy, and this is the way to do it. The first one is enough with the abstractions. This is a mobile framework comparison chart. Want to pick one? You go up to a project manager and you tell them frameworks are great, and then you tell them, can I have 3 weeks time to pick the right one for us, please? So instead of writing the next framework that is 20K smaller than jQuery, join the jQuery branch and fix things in jQuery, please. We don't need more of these things. Martin Beebe of Microsoft pointed out really, really nicely, everybody in the enterprise doesn't want to touch the web at the moment because all the answers they get is like, use these 15 libraries and that's 16 libraries that are written by some guy in their garage and we don't know what the security of it is, but you probably want to use that on that government contract, right? We have to make sure that people can trust the web itself and our abilities ourselves, not just us being able to use a library. This is the overview of all of them, so good luck with that. Let's fix the baseline. This is the official logo of the World Wide Web. So it seems like the World Wide Web could use some designers to work with them as well. But the stuff is there. This is where we start from. This is where government contracts are being written. They cannot use anything that doesn't have the same backup that the W3C standard has. There's legal implications in that. So instead of replacing the standards, bitch at them, complain at them, grab every W3C person and tell them we need this stuff now, and not we need what SAS does. Tell them what you really need, what the problem is that you want to solve. A lot of abstraction libraries make up problems to solve, which shows again that we don't get the recognition from our managers, so we come up with problems to solve, so we actually feel clever to each other about this. Rodney, who's sitting down there, wrote this article. Thank God we have a specification about the transition and animation specs. And he poked holes in every single one of them. And every browser implementation gets better when you do that. Here is what I get stuck with if I try to read what we should be using. Please fix that. And instead of replacing it with something that says animate magic, blah, 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 he just spend a lot of time researching the topic, finding the problems in it and pointing them out. Then I, as the browser maker, I, as the W3C guy, can fix the specification, can fix the browser. If all of you are using abstraction libraries instead of our stuff, we never care to fix it because there's no demand. We talked to a big library developer about supporting Firefox, especially Firefox OS. We said like there's millions of new mobile phones coming out in emerging markets. People want to use your library, but it doesn't support Gecko. And the answer was, yeah, that's really exciting. Can you give us $1.2 million to do a 2-year research into making our library actually work with Gecko? Because all of our enterprise clients only ask for IE support and for Chrome support. And that saddens me. That is a step back in time to me, because that's the time when Mozilla was invented to fight Internet Explorer 6 as the only browser out there. We're going back into that world. Because people don't demand of libraries. As soon as the library says it's HTML5 and it doesn't work on all browsers, it's not HTML5. You're putting a label on it to advertise it. It's not what it says it is. It's something that works in Chrome only, so it should be a Chrome library and not an HTML5 one. So let's fix the real problem here, and these things are available to you. People are like, oh, well, W3C doesn't listen to me. We don't get enough input. We don't get enough real input. We get a lot of trolls, we get a lot of bitching, but we don't get people who really look at what's broken and how it could be fixed and what the problem is that they have. And a lot of times this is very simple to fix, but we need to know that it's broken. And look at Rodney, he lost so much hair just looking into these kind of things. It's just really annoying. Superheroes need backup. Every company talks about hiring superheroes, ninja, mavens, blah, blah, blah right now. But nobody thinks about the guys in the background who actually have to maintain what these guys come up with. Nobody thinks about the people who are not superheroes, who don't come up with their own JavaScript framework, but a solid CSS and JavaScript and HTML developers. And you know what? For the outward-facing websites, the ticket sites, the government websites, these are the people that work on that. So our solutions, our libraries, our abstractions should be for those guys, not for the other superheroes. When somebody comes and says, like, I want to start web development, and I hear somebody telling them, well, you need the Unix command line to get Ruby and then Sass and some prefixing before you write your first CSS, I start screaming. And I will be loud towards you. Because we should not push people into a world where there's abstraction of abstraction of abstraction. We can get them excited about right-clicking on something, going into developer tools and starting to play with the CSS. We should show people that it is a real read-write media, the web more than anything else. So the more we put people into like a world of abstractions, the less they will get excited about it because it feels like work. It doesn't feel like discovery. It doesn't feel like playing a game. It feels like having to read a rule book over and over and over again. A badly written rule book where people say, my code explains itself, I don't need to write docs. No. If you read it yourself, yeah, because you wrote that code, but not everybody thinks like you. It's scary, but that's the real thing out there. So let's coach painters. We have this painting by number mentality, where we basically say, if you use these 3 libraries, you make a rotating kitten. Yay, you're a web developer. How do you make this kitten rotate? What's the technology behind it? See, you get stuck right now. If you do this, you can get further. What do you think should be the solution? When I'm training people, 70% of the training course is people talking to me and not me talking to them. Because I'm only needed as the coach when they get stuck, not when they actually want to start. Because otherwise I just project my knowledge onto them rather than them finding their own way, their own creative way of solving a certain problem. As I said, there's millions of solutions for the same problem on the web, and it's arrogant of us to say there's only one that is the right one. So I've seen people use terrible things in markup, but had a good JavaScript way of doing it, and then I put them together with good markup, and we had a great product. rather than demonizing them for having bad markup. So let's get people excited about being the thing. And interact. Stop being that guy. Stop just being on the web coding, going to Stack Overflow, telling everybody that the web is broken, and then go to bed for 5 minutes, and then go back to surf Hacker News and get disentangled with life because other people sell their companies for $16 million. Talk to your project managers. I know it's scary. Talk to hiring agents. I get all these hiring agents that offer me jobs that do it really, really stupidly, and I started emailing them back, explaining them what made me not interested in that job, what part of her approach or their description of the job put me off. Because next time they probably find somebody who wants to have the job, but they don't get them shocked by like putting 16,000 words in there and asking them for 6 years of experience in a 1-year-old technology, which happens all the time as well. So we can complain about the outside world, or we can fix it by communicating with them. And I found in every discussion that I had with managers, with company owners, with product managers, the first thing to do is like, why do you want this? Why is the fire that you actually are obviously very agitated about, why does that even exist? What can I do for you to fix that? And once that, what can I do for you, is the foot in the door. Then you can put your requests in. But you cannot just fire request against request the whole time. And there is a preconception that we're socially inept and bad to talk with. And we usually only ones who can fix that. Nobody from the outside world will tell you like, yeah, developers are not that bad actually. It's like the old saying says like, arguing with an engineer is like wrestling with a pig in the mud. I'm just far too late you realize that it enjoys it. And the web is like that. We're a lot of things. We're not just algorithm makers and coders. We're writers, we're designers, we're organizers, we're structurers, we're publishers, we're fixers. And for all of us, there's a space on the web. I mean, there's a lot of people saying right now, if I only know HTML and CSS, I'm not going to have a job in 2 years' time. Bullshit. You might not have a totally overpaid job. You might not be the head UX engineer at a large agency, but you can still do things. You can still get a job. There's lots and lots of space for us on the web. And I think it's time we understand that all of these people have different needs. Rather than us saying like, that's the way we work, we optimize it, and this is good for all of you as well. I'm Chris Heilmann. I'm one of thousands of Mozillians out there who joined the Mozilla project to keep the web open and get happy by coaching other people about the web. Get happy about helping each other out. Get happy about going where other people are. I'm not saying you should be part of Mozilla, you're very invited to, but find something that makes you happy. Find something that challenges you and gives you the recognition that you deserve. Because there's nothing worse than being paid a lot of money without being listened to. This makes us feel like frauds. This makes us feel like inadequate. And that's all I had, so thanks very much.